Okay, it's 6 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order, and we'll begin with roll call.
Charles Black-Lance.
Here.
Reed Campbell.
Here.
Tom Hagelin.
Here?
Sue Kern.
Here.
Ruth Nelson.
Here.
Bob Nystrom.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, good evening, everybody. I do want to remind everyone that this meeting of our school board is being conducted in accordance with Minnesota Statutes 13D-021, so we are still continuing to do electronic board meetings. We'll move right into approval of our agenda.
I'll move the approval of the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Director Nelson, second by Director Nystrom for approval of our agenda. Any discussion? Not in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up will be public input. And I do want to remind, I'm going to read what our policy is here regarding public input. So some of you may be planning, some in our audience or listening live stream right now, may be planning to address an issue during the public comment portion of tonight's meeting. We welcome your comments. Please be reminded that we must comply with Board Policy 206, and the following limitations will apply during tonight's public comment period. Granted, it's a bit different because we are doing this via Zoom or whatever method of electronics. The school board will enforce a 3-minute limit on each person speaking, which we won't have tonight. During the public comment session, complaints or allegations against students or employees may not be discussed due to data privacy. Complaints or allegations must be submitted in writing to Superintendent Larson. And the other piece that I want to make sure is clear that please be advised that there will be no verbal or even electronic interaction or questions or answers with the Board of Education or Superintendent of Schools. So this is simply an opportunity for us to hear from our community. And I think I'm going to ask Corey, I think might have a public comment that she is going to read.
Thanks, Chair Haglund. We have a letter dated 7/12/20. Hello, my name is Troy Larson, and I'm contacting the school board because I'm concerned about the upcoming 2020-21 school year. I have 3 children in the district, and my wife is a 20-plus year teacher in the school district. Last spring, the school district switched over to distance learning, as did many other school districts. I realized it was a method to get the district through to the end of the school year. I know in my family it had mixed results. When I got negative feedback on it from coworkers, I defended it because I knew the administration and teachers had not planned on ending the year with distance learning. I also saw all the time and energy my wife put into distance learning to give the students the best education possible. At the end of the day, we all know distance learning was a stopgap measure and would not become the standard in education. Students need to be in school Monday through Friday. They need to see their teachers and friends. They need face-to-face instruction. They need athletics, band, choir, STEM, and other extracurricular activities. A hybrid school week would have the kids in school 2 to 3 days a week. The kids need more consistency than that. No manufacturing plant would want to run their machines 2 days a week. No resort would want to be open only every other week during the summer. The district is in the middle of a building program. If the general contractor for things have changed, if they're doing a hybrid school building, with half the steel supports and half the concrete in the foundation, as required by building standards, it would be rejected as substandard. The hybrid school week is substandard. The state of Minnesota may recommend a hybrid distance learning start to the school year. That is not quality education. The Brainerd School Board has provided quality education, and my hope is that the 2020-21 school year will have quality education. The students of District 181 deserve a quality education. The teachers I know want to give their students the best education possible. When making your decision for the start of the 2020-2021 school year, please ask yourself what is best for the students. It would be horrible to have a year of substandard education. We can never get that time back. Do what is best for the kids. Thank you, Troy Larson.
Okay, thank you, Corey. Any others that you have?
No.
Okay, and I would like to take just a moment too to address, some of you may know that there's been a number of postings, emails that came forward to some of us on the board and administration regarding social media posts. I would like to address that and have expressed concern about social media posts that appeared on a Facebook account tied to Director Sue Kern's family. These concerns will not be read publicly tonight because the public comment period is not the proper venue for raising and considering allegations against a representative of the school district. With that being said, I have discussed the post with Director Kern and want to briefly respond to the concerns that have been raised. Most importantly, as should be clear from the post itself, the views stated in the post are not the views of the Board of Education and Brainerd Public Schools. Director Kern's husband wrote the post in question and is the primary user of Facebook account on which the post appeared. Moving forward, Director Kern has informed me that Mr. Kern will set up his own Facebook account to avoid any future confusion about who is the author of this post. I do not expect any further action regarding this issue to be necessary given the First Amendment's substantial protections for private citizen speech, in this case Mr. Kern, on political issues and the fact that this is not the role of Brainerd Public Schools to regulate what private citizens say on social media. Thank you to those who did step forward to share concerns, and as always, the Board of Education and Brainerd Public Schools Administration welcome feedback from the community. Having no more public input, we'll move forward with approval of our minutes from our June 25th board meeting.
I so move approval of the June 25th meeting.
Second.
Motion by Director Campbell, second by Director Kern for approval of our board meeting minutes of June 25th. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up is our consent calendar.
I'll move the approval of the consent calendar and presentation of additional bills for payment.
Thank you. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you. Motion by Director Nystrom, second by Director Blackclance for approval of our consent calendar. Any discussion?
I just have one quick question. Under there is a field trip request, and I just want to make sure that we're following all COVID-19. It was very short. It seems like we should have another little something in there that says that we'll follow procedures needed by COVID-19.
We can definitely make that adjustment as we tell them. And again, this is pending the fact that they can have this field trip.
Okay.
But we certainly can be assured of that all of those
And I
protocols.
think it's great that we if we're able to do that, but I just want to make sure that they have that in writing.
Great, yep. Good,
Perfect.
good
Thank
idea.
you for bringing that up.
Any other discussion? Not those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Before we get into new business, I'm going to ask Superintendent Lane Larson to introduce our two new principals.
Thank you very much. Tonight's a really exciting night. As the Board of Education and the community knows, we put an extensive search out to find the next leaders of Harrison Elementary School and Riverside Elementary School this spring. And we are so excited tonight to bring to you both of the candidates that were selected and who started their positions on July 1st already. And so standing in the doorway right now and who's going to come and introduce himself a little bit is the new principal of Harrison Elementary School, Jim Conrad.
Good evening.
Jim, I'm just going to let you give a little bit of detail about yourself and your history and what excites you about leading Harrison Elementary School.
All right, fantastic. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited to be a part of this wonderful school district. With that, I guess I'll start a little bit about myself. Part of why My family and I were very interested in coming to Brainerd Public Schools, as we've been visiting here as a family since the 80s. My grandparents lived up on Lower Whitefish Lake, the chain, and have just always enjoyed our time here and knowing what a wonderful, beautiful community it is. We were just tickled pink to see the opportunity, and obviously I applied and went through the process, and now here we are this evening, and feel very fortunate and lucky to be speaking to you this evening, so I thank you for that opportunity. This fall, I'll be starting my 21st year in education, 7 of those as an administrator and 14 of those as a teacher. I started my teaching career for 4 years out in Moreno Valley, California, which is also where I met my lovely wife, Julie, and we had our first daughter, Isabel, out there. After that, we moved back to Fergus Falls, Minnesota, where we were for another 4 years teaching, and we had our son, Xander. And then as time goes on, we were in Long Prairie for 7 years where I taught. During that time, I also coached high school boys and girls hockey, and finished up my master's in my principal's licensure program while we were there. Then went to Proctor for 3 years as an assistant principal. And then the last 3 years I've been in Melrose Public Schools as a head principal in the elementary, and then obviously now this evening I'm speaking to you as the new Harrison principal. Some of the things that I'm very excited about the community in Harrison are demographics and the wonderful children and families that attend our school, not just at Harrison but across the district. Very excited to have my own daughter, who will be a first grader, in the building with me, as well as our son across town in the high school. And our daughter Isabel is also a high schooler as well, and she's looking forward to attending as well. On top of that, I guess, unless you have any questions, it's just me in a quick nutshell, but very excited to be here.
So was it really fun tonight to take the tour again and to lead everybody through your school? And
Oh, yes,
all
very
that.
much. I'm so impressed by the construction, and there's dust and open frame everywhere, and I'm already excited about the building and getting kids in there whenever that might be, and just enjoying it all and soaking it all in, and even made plans to go back on Thursday to check out the portions that we were not able to, since obviously we were coming back here for the board meeting this evening. But I'll go back and see what I didn't see and ask the questions I didn't ask when we were over there briefly, and start getting even more excited than I already am. So,
Wonderful.
all right.
Well, welcome to you
Thank
and your
you.
wife and your family. Look forward to getting to know you, and we're excited as well to open up to have you here. And if I can give you one piece of recommendation, there's a young retiring principal that's currently at that school right now. I would try to glean all you can from her while she's
Absolutely.
around.
Absolutely. She's been an absolute blessing and help
Yes.
so far, and will continue to be so. So
Yeah,
thank you
good.
very much for putting me in touch with her as well. So,
Good.
all right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Welcome. Come on in, Sheila. And the next principal that, is our Riverside Elementary principal, taking the place of John Clark, and this is Dr. Sheila Eller. And I shared that I can't believe our lives are connecting again, because we went through administration school together several years ago, and so it's just, why don't you give everyone a brief history of all of the wonderful experiences you've had?
Well, thank you. And thank you for having me here tonight, and good evening, school board. I'm so excited to be a part of the Brainerd School District. This has been a dream of mine for a long time. I've been coming to the lake area for a long time, my family, and we love the Brainerd community. It's just a beautiful community with great people. So super excited to come here and be a part of this exceptional school district. So thank you for this great opportunity. I have a very extensive experiences. I've had 23 years of being a school principal in a variety of states, Virginia, Illinois, and Minnesota. I taught for 15 years in Iowa, almost every grade except for kindergarten. I love the elementary schools. I was a middle school principal in the Mounds View School District. I've been there for 10 years as an elementary principal as well as a middle school principal. I had the great opportunity to meet Lane Larson in 1996 and the program, and we all talked about our careers and what we were going to do, and I'm just so excited to be a part of this. And then I had the opportunity to meet Dr. Heidi Hahn when I took my doctorate program, and she always talked about Brainerd School District and what a great place. And I thought, I want to be a part of that. She talks about the exceptional leadership we have in our district and talks about the beautiful community and all the students and families. So I'm just so excited to be here. At Riverside, I've had the opportunity, I'm meeting with each and every employee, getting to know them, getting to know the community. And the most beautiful thing I have learned is they love Riverside. They love their school and they love their students. So I'm so excited to be a part of that community. So thank you so much for the opportunity to work in an exceptional school district. Have any questions for me?
Okay, great, wonderful, thank you. We're honored and blessed that you came back to the best state in the U.S. and the greatest district in the state of Minnesota, so thank you.
Well, thank
Welcome.
you. And I'm very excited to be back in Minnesota and especially here in Brainerd. So thank you for this opportunity.
Great,
Thanks,
thank you.
Sheila.
Thank you. Have a good
Welcome.
evening, everyone. Yep,
You too.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sheila. All right, well, let's move into some new business, and we'll start with our Blueprint 181 updates. I'm thinking Damien will pop up pretty soon.
All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Not yet.
No?
They're working on it.
We got it, Damien.
Yep. I can't wait till we can meet in person again. Just so you know.
Us too.
We're good to go. We're good to go.
All right. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Bond improvements update, July 13th, 2020. Items that we're going to discuss include project updates, high school visual arts and electrical changes review, Riverside Mindoli plan review changes review. So we'll start up with the Brainerd High School, and we'll have Scott Whitmore jump on and talk about his project.
All right. So thank you everybody who came through and did the tour this evening. As it says on the screen there, area 1 and 3, we're getting down to punch list items there. We're padding out. They're just installing some fin tube, and then primarily fixtures remain in the bathrooms, and that area is wrapped up. The main floor, as most of you saw, we got all of the flood sheetrock remediated. We did get the thumbs up from the industrial hygienist on Friday to start putting it back together, so there'll be crews working in there the next couple weeks to get that all buttoned up. Area 2, we're preparing for paint on the north side, and in the lobby itself, they are continuing with some high soffit framing and finishing up on the exterior wall. Inside the Performing Arts Center, cast wall and structural steel continues. If you were there today, you noticed the big raker beams are set. In 2 weeks, we're going to pour the upper level balcony. So that will be quite the engineering feat. If you all want to stop in when we're doing that, it should be pretty cool. Area 5, we're taping and prep for kitchen equipment. The freezers are installed. The hoods have been installed. We have terrazzo and ceramic tile starting on Monday. The FRP is just about wrapped up. So then after that, we're pretty much down to just the equipment, and that will start showing up in the next 2 weeks as well. Area 6, framing and topping out. They're continually working on that. Area 7, masonry and walls are primarily complete, and they started topping out all the sheetrock in those walls as well. Area 8, underground and footing work is continuing, and as you're probably all wondering, the jack and bore, it was successful. We're stuffing the pipe through today, so we made it through on Friday of last week, and today the RJ Mechanical is putting their 24-inch storm line through, and that's going very well. They should have that wrapped up by the end of the day as well. Any questions?
Scott, is the picture up in the upper left-hand corner with the blue thing, is that the jack and bore?
That's correct.
That's
So that
what I
was the 30 6-inch caisson that was being pushed through.
Amazing.
Scott, could you explain the flooding that occurred? What was the reason for the flooding?
The reason for the flooding, now this happened about, actually it happened on Monday the 25th, I believe it was, Memorial Day. We had that storm come through, and we had temporary rain leaders connecting the stormwater and the overflow stormwater in our north new construction area because our storm tie-in in Fifth Street was not completed yet. When that came through, it overwhelmed the temporary connection and it burst in 2 locations. One in the visual, or not visual, but the music arts suite, and then in the EBD classrooms in Area 3 basement. So those 2 areas suffered a pretty good amount of water damage, and we've been working with Bronze industrial hygienists to make sure that we get those remediated.
All right, thanks, Scott.
You're welcome. So also on the docket for the Brainerd High School is PR 19. So PR 19 is to change down to the 3 visual arts classrooms. Approximately $44,518.06, approximately, is for the visual arts change itself, and that included furring out the walls. When we pulled out the old control room, there was no top to the tunnel, and making some grade adjustments in that location as well. And then $59,435 is for miscellaneous electrical, as attached in your board sheet or your board book there. Actually, I think you got printed out pages. It's 103 pages each. But a number of the things were blackout shades, and 157 providing power to those, wall mounts to toilet rooms, makeup counter receptacles, electrical circuits and gas ranges, IP dialer for the fire alarm system, 8 fixtures in the PAC lobby and the controllers, fused connection for secondary side transformers, TS1, TMP, TT1, TT2, disconnects for the air handling units and the makeup air units.
So just to clarify, even though the change request says visual arts change, it's more than that. It's also a bunch of electrical changes throughout the high school.
That's correct, and most of those are identified through the power study and kind of as construction continues on.
I think when we make the board action on that, we probably should put as presented, and then everything that's in the supporting documents, we'll make sure that that's covered. Yeah, great point, Ruth.
Okay.
Any other questions for North Campus?
No?
Great.
All right, can we move over to South Campus then? All right. South Campus, so we're in the design development phase. We did have user group meeting 1 last week, and invites will be coming out for user group meeting 2, and we're tentatively planning for either the last week of July or the first week of August. Still trying to figure out a date on those, but everything's progressing very well for South Campus. Any questions on South Campus?
Okay,
No?
Hearing none,
Do you have-
I will go on
That's
mute.
Oh, do you have a question?
thanks, Scott.
Oh, hey, hang on, Scott. We got one question for you.
Scott?
Yes, sir.
Has there been a decision made on the White House? Is that going to be moved or demolished at the South Campus?
There has not. At this point, we do need approximately 5,000 square feet for playground space as well as basketball courts, because those are very commonly used features over at Lincoln. So likely that house in the garage that's just to the north of it will have to go away. Now, what you as a district decide to do with that, whether you move it or we demolish it, has yet to be determined.
All right, thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Justin Moninga. We'll have Justin jump on here and he can talk about New Baxter.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
At New Baxter Elementary, thanks for coming out and taking a look at the project. It was a lot of fun, kind of showing what we've been up to. Been a while. But yeah, we're kind of throughout the building. We're doing final cleaning on the inside. Moving forward with the landscaping, irrigation. You saw a lot of trenches kind of around getting the irrigation in. A lot of black dirt getting spread throughout. Put finishing touches on the interior finishes kind of throughout. End of this week, into next week, we're actually starting testing and balancing of the mechanical systems. Some of them are up and running here and there, but we're working towards actually getting the testing and balancing done. And that second project to this, the gymnasium number 2, right in the middle of rough-ins there. That the roof. The building has been roofed, the panels have obviously been set, the slab's been poured, and progressing nicely with that. Any questions on New Baxter Elementary?
It's coming along nice.
Beautiful.
So it's really nice.
I agree. Moving to Nisswa. This is, we're in the phase 2, the summer slam, as we call it, phase of the project. The sheetrock has been up everywhere, and the minimum, a first coat of drywall, of tape has been done throughout the project. The intent by the end of the week here would be to get all the drywall finishes pretty much wrapped up and at minimum primed. Wrapping up some mechanical, electrical, and plumbing rough-ins here and there. We did get the first lift of asphalt down on the east parking lot on School Street. The terrazzo flooring has been placed. That was a big kind of a hurdle to overcome to get that in and keep the construction going. But that's in and it's being polished as we speak. The tile work started this week. Actually, quarry tile starting tomorrow in the kitchen with ceramic tile kind of throughout. And there's always miscellaneous carpentry kind of working throughout here and there too. And happy to say we're right on schedule, right where we anticipated being at this time. So we're pretty happy where we're at Nisswa. Warrior Early Learning Center. The same update as the last meeting. We have contracts been executed, permitting has been done and behind us. Really, we're just working on submittals and logistics and getting ready to, figure out how we're going to actually tackle this thing, come fall.
All right, thanks, Justin. Any questions at all for Justin? Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Justin.
All right, Harrison Elementary, working on exterior site work is ongoing, working on including concrete fencing and final grading. Interior framing on the existing side of the building is nearing completion. Stair infills have been complete. Interior finishes, including painting, ceramic tile, and wood ceilings, are being installed throughout the addition. You can see that's wrapping up. Mechanical, plumbing, electrical rough-ins are ongoing in the existing building, and then, of course, drywall is going on levels 1 and 2. So a lot of work happening out there right now. Things are going well. Eric and Kyle are doing a great job keeping the contractors on task. So any questions at all about Harrison?
Quite a transformation.
Yeah.
It's going to turn out very, very nice. Garfield, underground electrical and plumbing rough-ins are complete. Interior and exterior masonry walls are ongoing. Interior framing and sheetrock is ongoing. Electrical and plumbing rough-ins throughout phase 1 are ongoing. Paint is ongoing in classrooms. Exterior parking lot construction has started. Just a lot of work happening everywhere in a lot of various stages. It is all hands on deck right now, getting phase 1 completed. I know they're working on the additions The additions are a little bit behind the renovation work, but a lot of people are hard at work right now getting lots done. So it'll be fun to see what it looks like over the next few weeks and how things keep moving forward. So, any questions at all for Garfield?
No?
Yeah. All right, Lowell. Mark, are you out there?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Needham.
All right, Lowell Elementary. So the quick project update here. We started the steel erection at the classroom tower, as you can see in the photo there to the left. So that's in place and getting ready for precast to start there this week. I know they mobilized out to the site today. They've got all their precast helical anchors for temporary bracing installed to get prepared for that as well. We've also removed the foundation wall at the classroom tower, which allows us access into that space so we can continue to work there when the precast goes up. And then we're also installing underground waste lines between the new gym and the admin area to continue with underground utilities. Other items that I don't have listed here, we did get into the foundation systems in the admin space, so that concrete is all poured for the footing. Now they're working on foundation walls. And to bring the team up to speed on the rain event from last week Wednesday, when we had all the warnings and warnings that we had for Crow Wing County. We did have some water intrusion into the basement, and we were able to find the root cause of that was a couple of pumps that didn't have the capacity to keep up with the amount of rainwater coming in. We've added some additional capacity to the pumps, additional pumps to the project. We had service masters out first thing the next morning, and they were able to get get all the water and mud out of the basement and salvage a lot of carpet, other materials like that. We're looking on, and then on Friday, just to kind of, the next step there was to go through and inventory all the instructional materials that had been affected by the water and inventory what was had been damaged and what was salvageable and what had not been damaged. So there's a big organizational effort going on in the basement there with that material. Other than that, we've had dehumidifiers and fans running all weekend long to keep the space dry to mitigate any sort of potential water effect along with the water. Any questions on that or thoughts on it?
No?
All right, Riverside Elementary. We've, I know it says mobilized, trained, and started setting precast, and that was written on Wednesday, and by Friday, all the precast was stood up. So that team came in and knocked it out of the park and stood a full gym of precast panels in a very short amount of time. Pretty impressive to see that. And now there's an outline of a building on the outside of that project. Other than that, continuing with interior painting in Area A, so that's all the third grade, fourth grade classrooms, and then the gym as well. So the drywall, ceiling paint started in there, and they're continuing through with that right now. We also completed soil corrections at the receiving area and start prepping for some underground work that is there. I think is a good segue into the change event number 7, ASI 2 Mendoli Plan review and comment revision for an amount not to exceed $82,540, and that is that's based on the Mendoli, their state building and plumbing plan review comments. We've seen a couple of these before on other projects. This one specifically addresses ADA spaces for bathrooms where we were modifying spaces adjacent to a bathroom and needed to update the bathroom because we were doing so. And there were a few walls that we had to just widen out to give enough space for wheelchair access, things like that. The larger and more significant part of that was in the receiving area where we were installing a fuel tank or future fuel tank to replace the existing one. And what we ended up running into there were code requirements for minimum distances between piping and fuel tank. And what we needed to do was reroute our water service, electrical service, underground storm, and our gas line as well, to be able to give ourselves enough space between the fuel and the new services coming into the building. And that required us to adjust the footprint a little bit of the receiving area. So instead of putting a dog in a wall, we ran the wall straight across, which added a little bit of slab on grade and a little bit of roof structure and things of that nature. And allowed us to reorganize really the piping in that space. We had to come out an extra 20 feet or 20 or 30, 20 to 30 feet of excavation space to be able to do that. And that's reflected in that not to exceed price. Any questions on that change that I'm looking for approval?
Yeah, we've got a couple questions.
Hi, Mark. Bob Nystrom here. When you say completed soil corrections at the receiving area, did you find contamination there that needs to be corrected?
There were, based on the geotechnical report and what our special inspections are responsible for observing when we're excavating these spaces, there's unsuitable soils that we have to remove from the space, and they call it flopping the soil to kind of simplify what they do, but essentially they turn it over to make sure there's nothing in it before they recompact it and replace it.
Okay.
And that's just to ensure that we don't leave bad soils in the ground, because we did find some of that in early geotechnical reporting, and it was part of the plan. So for example, back at the gym, that was all flopped, doing air quotes, I think, sorry for that, but that was all flopped to make sure that we didn't have additional soil corrections that had to happen back there,
Okay, thank you, Mark. Any other questions for Mark? Riverside? Okay. Is there others?
Okay. Just one note on that. I just want to mention that we're doing a not to exceed because we're working with Anderson Brothers and finalizing their pricing. We're looking close at the soil correction. We are affecting a larger area. We just have a lot of things happening on that part of the building. So it's a small area, and we're putting a ton of stuff in place right there, whether it's utilities or the fuel tank. So anyway, we're working through that, but we're hoping that we can reduce that number. Working with Braun Aerotech and then working with Anderson Brothers. So that's why we did not to exceed, knowing you guys weren't going to have a school board meeting in July, a second school board meeting in July, potentially. We thought we'd want to get it approved, so we at least keep things moving forward. So.
Okay.
Okay. Other than that, I think that concludes our presentation. We had a great day of tours today. There's a lot of work happening by many right now. The high school site, we're averaging 150 men every day on that site. We're probably averaging another 150 men on the other projects combined. So you got 300 workers, working very hard right now to maintain all of these schedules. And our team is, as all teams right now, they're all being taxed because it's summertime, but we got a great team and we're working hard at it. So
Damien or Justin, a quick question regarding Nisswa. I'm assuming that the two roof lines, how that came together, I think we had a not to exceed on that. I've been meaning to ask the question, but I assume that all came together as expected.
It has. We haven't got the final pricing in yet to know if we're going to be underneath that not to exceed or not. So we're working on that, but definitely not over the not to exceed.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, that's done.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the team?
When they just talked about the Mindoli plan review, I would recommend that when we take action on letter B, that we also put as presented, because he sure talked about a lot of things that aren't in this action item. So just to make sure that all of the items that are in the Mindoli report are included. So whoever makes that motion, I would make that recommendation on both of the items tonight.
Okay. All righty, thank you, ICS team.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Okay, so we'll move right into actionable items, and the first one is approval of PR 19, as discussed, or as presented, I should say.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve proposal request number 19 as presented for visual arts and electrical changes at Brainerd High School North Campus not to exceed $103,953.06.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Director Nystrom, second by Director Nelson for approval. Any further discussion? Not, those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is for approval of event change number 7 as presented.
I so move approval of the change as presented for number 7 on Mindoli plan and ADA accessibility, fuel tank services, code issues, and soil corrections at Riverside Elementary, not to exceed $82,540.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Director Campbell, second by Director Nystrom for approval of event number 7. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up is approval of our 2021 student handbook. Mr. Murtha. I don't know if Tim is. If Tim is going to present at all, do you know, Lane?
Yeah, I thought he was going to.
Okay.
Here he comes.
Ta-da.
Mr. Murtha, good evening.
Good evening. I'm here for the annual request for approval of the handbook, student handbooks for our buildings. And the core of what we've changed this year is focuses in 3 areas. One, the meals and milk prices, as always, are updated after you approve those prices, and that's a board action item for you coming later this evening. There's a couple of updates at some of the elementaries on building access in terms of the instructions on how to come into the school, which are unique to each site. And then there's the inclusion of equity and language around student discipline. And what we wanted to do there was pull together their existing beliefs about discipline functioning as a learning opportunity. We wanted to include elements of prevention and intervention and accountability, because in order to make it a learning opportunities, you have to set your learning targets and you have to preload that. You have to do instruction around it. So that's the prevention and the intervention pieces. We wanted it also to align with the cultural competency work that we do for student-teacher licensure, and also work that we've been doing in the district for the last couple of years. And we wanted it embedded in the RTI MTSS framework that the admin committee of such name is working on, that multi-tiered system of supports for students. So this would combine our social and emotional work as well as our discipline, again, keeping it focused as a learning opportunity. This offers us the framework and some consistency to structure the conversations that need to occur at each site around the continuous improvement process. So the language change here translates beyond this handbook to decisions that sites make in the implementation of student policy and social emotional learning. That's the Reader's Digest version of the large folder of document that you received during the week.
Thank you, Tim. Any questions for Mr. Murtha?
So the change in the discipline is under part 3. in the,
Yeah, it'll be in the discipline framework. So if you would look at if you look at the high school PDF, it'll say page 13 in the index, but by PDF language, that would probably be at the bottom of page 19. And so you'll see a framework there, either in the bottom of 19, the top of page 20. I suppose I should have had you look at Baxter's, because it's real clean on one page. It doesn't cross over through formatting. I'm sorry, there are one or two small formatting errors in the PDFs. When we translate these documents from the Word document that created it into PDF, we always lose a little bit, and it's takes a lot of time to figure them out. The masters that we send to the printer are the Word documents, not the PDFs. We submit PDF to you for ADA reasons when they're posted on the school board.
Are those still printed here, Tim?
Yep. We're not printing as many as we used to. We're trying to push the document online, but there will always be, again, for equity reasons, there will always be those who cannot access the information digitally, so we will always have some in print form.
so the change is that framework that's on?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. It's now common in each school's handbook. We've come a long way in the last
Yeah.
number of years standardizing
Yeah.
our handbooks.
When we have something this large to look at, sometimes it's nice to have a summary sent
I
out to us.
Did
Was there a
submit
summary?
one to
I don't
Janet,
remember seeing it, maybe I missed it.
but I can, so, I did submit one, but I can make sure that it gets to you directly.
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
great, just send it
Okay.
out later, so, because that's helpful when you, because
Oh, trust me, I completely understand. Notice I limited it to 3 things I'm talking about out of several thousand, 100 pages.
Tim, I have one question. When you're referring to the Human Rights Officer, are you referring to the Title IX Director?
Correct.
And is that number Charles Campbell's telephone number?
I would assume so. I don't know his number off the
Okay,
top of my head.
because, would you double check that before it goes to print?
Yes, absolutely.
Because he was approved at the organizational meeting, and it used to be in the Assistant Superintendent's office, but it's now Charles Campbell.
Is the number 6919 or
6916 is what it says.
Okay, if that's
On
not
page-
Heidi's number, then
page
that's
number.
would be Charles. But I will have that confirmed.
Okay, so if you'll double check that.
Yep.
Oh, Charlie's is 6,300.
6,300 then.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, that's the athletic office number.
Okay.
6916.
And you might want to
Assistant
So that number is the out-of-date number. I'm sorry.
and then I would put Title IX in there because there've been a lot of changes in Title IX, particularly in May. And so I would make sure that it refers to Title IX rather than Human Rights Officer. Since we have that chance yet to make that.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for Tim? Okay.
I so move approval of the 2021 Brainerd Public Schools Student Handbooks as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Director Campbell, second by Director Blacklands for approval of the 2021 handbooks. Any further discussion?
Thanks for all the work.
The credit goes to the principals and to Ms. Cynthia Silvernail, who did all the formatting.
They look great. All right, if not, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Next up will be approval of our bread bid, and Alyssa Thompson, I think, is going to present. Good evening, Alyssa.
Hi. All right, I bring you the very exciting bread bid tonight. Everyone's been waiting for this. We went out for bid with Bimbo Bakeries and Panagold Bakery. For the first time in, about 6 years, we see a little bit of an increase from Panagold. I was counting per slice and per bun to find out who was the lower price, and Panagold did win by about 12 cents. So they are local. They have local drivers, local management. They provide the pack and quantity size that we need. And so it is my recommendation that we approve Panagold for the bread bid this school year.
I'll make a motion that we approve Pan of Gold to receive the bread bid for 2021. I'll second.
Thank you. Motion by Director Nystrom, second by Director Blacklands for approval of the bread bid as presented. Any further discussion?
I haven't eaten anything since about 11 a.m., so this discussion is much more exciting than you would have realized.
All right, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up will be our meal price.
Yes. All
Cheryl,
right.
stay tuned.
Food service in the school district understands the immense financial strain that COVID-19 might have played on families in the district. We saved a ton of money, I should say product, from last year because of the pandemic. Our warehouse is full. We saved a ton of money in food costs during the pandemic because we used what we had. So I feel really comfortable in where we're sitting in our warehouse and with the commodities that we'll receive this fall to reduce our overall food cost. And for those reasons, and the fact that I just don't want to put that burden on parents when we don't see a huge uptick in revenue when we raise our prices, I recommend that we don't raise our prices this school year and reevaluate next year, probably earlier in the spring.
Good, that's great to hear. Thank you.
I would so move to approve the meal prices for the 2021 school year to remain the same as last year. It's presented.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Director Kern, second by Director Campbell for approval of the meal prices for 2021 to remain as is. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up will be approval of our second and final reading of Policy 560. Corey Reynolds.
I did first.
I don't have anything prepared, just here to answer any questions on policy 560.
Probably the only, have we no comments from the public or anything on it?
No.
It's pretty simple. Okay. I'll move the approval of the second and final reading of policy 560, naming of school buildings and facilities.
Second.
Motion by Director Nelson, second by Director Nystrom for approval of Policy 560 as Corey so eloquently presented. Thank you. Those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Corey.
Well done. Wow. Wow.
Last actionable item is approval of our 10-year long-term facilities plan. Marcy Laura.
She might be coming from her office.
We're on fire with this meeting tonight. We're just cruising right along.
Sorry.
Hi, Marcy.
Yeah?
I did run, I swear. Good evening, guys. I have for you the LTFM plan, 10-year plan. Just to give you a quick update, that first document is the revenue. So I go in and I update the adjusted pupil units based on our projections on this year's budget and moving forward. And then also verify the debt service payments. And then I sent this off to Ellers just to get their input, and they did have a couple of adjustments based on our levy document. And that's the revenue document. And then we take the expense document and put in our expenses based on a summary that's provided by ICS with our projects. And then also buildings and grounds. So Reed and Jeff put together a plan, a 10-year plan. And if you ever want to see Reed get excited, ask him about his 10-year plan. So he summarizes what he expects for expenses, and I combined the two, and that's what the expense summary is. And new this year is this fund balance section down at the bottom, and it's actually nice to be able to see where our projections land us as far as fund balance. So the first category is the Fund 1, and then the second category is Fund 6, and that is our facilities plan projects. So eventually that will be zero once the projects are done. And then you'll see in 2021, there is a number in there because we do have additional LTFM bonds that we need to issue to finish out the project. Are there
See,
any?
Marcy, I don't know if, I wasn't able to read it, so I had to export it or whatever IT did to get it where I could, and I can't read it on here. I don't know if you guys can, but.
Is it very tiny?
Yeah,
It's kind of blurry.
well, when you blow it up, it's just fuzzy. So,
Okay.
But I was able to get it off
'Cause
back in my office.
I tried to make it bigger and it did not work.
Okay, all right.
So I apologize.
So any concerns or highlights?
No, if you look, I mean, we'll zero out the Fund 6, and then in Fund 1, we have kind of built up a reserve, and then we start to dip into that in the future years, but it's a ways off. I mean, 10 years is a long way. We hope to actually, Reed would really like to set a goal of what our fund balance should be, similar to what we have for unassigned, and then keep that as our, we may see dips and excess, but what is our goal for if an emergency was to come up?
I think it might be helpful to have Reed come in sometime and review our long-range plan that he's all excited about, so maybe at another meeting.
He would have been here tonight to do
Yes.
this, but he's on vacation this week, so.
Yeah, and it's not a high priority, but it just,
No, I agree. I think that would be fun to see where he's got the funding.
yeah.
Yes, I think he would enjoy
Agreed.
that.
Do we have any solar panels in here?
Yeah.
Okay,
I agree.
thank you, Marcy.
I move to approve the update 10-year long-term facilities maintenance plan as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Director Blackmon, second by Director Nelson for approval of the 10-year plan as presented. Any further discussion? No, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And that concludes our actionable items. Marcy, you want to move right into your report, including enrollment?
Yes, so as promised, I did put together that graph of what it looked like compared to our enrollment study. So we had an enrollment study done in 2014-15 by Hazel Reinhardt. And in October, on the October 30th, 2017 meeting, there was a graph presented, and that is the red, blue, and green lines to the board, looking at what our projections were. At that meeting, the board selected the blue line, which is medium growth, for moving forward with our facilities plan. That blue line is the average of the red and the green. So in the study, there was actually 4 lines. There was high kindergarten, high migration, high kindergarten, low migration, low kindergarten, high migration, low kindergarten, low migration. And what that means is the projection had low kindergarten coming in and then a high kindergarten, and then migration is the transition between the grades. So in the study, there was the 4, and what was presented to the board was the high and the low. And then that blue line was the average of the 2. And then the purple line I added is so you guys could see where have we actually ended the year. So all of them except for 1920 and 2021 are actuals, 18-19's final. 1920, we're still working on our MARS submissions, so that one is just a little asterisk behind that. And then 2021 is what we inputted for the budget. And in that study, I just wanted to highlight that it was underlined in there, long-term projections should not be used for annual budgeting purposes. We do use a projection model that we update every year, and that's what is used for our projection. And in that study too, I reviewed it, that was the first time I was able to see it. It is based on birth rates, and so we did know the birth rates for the first 5 years because those births had happened, but now we're into the point where it's all projections on births. So you're starting to see that gap there, and it's because the data's getting old. I just want to emphasize that. Is there any questions on that?
So the projection for this coming year is a conservative projection, I would guess.
Yes. Yeah. Just because we don't, with COVID and everything, we don't know what's going to happen.
Right. And when we did the budget the second time around this spring, because of COVID, we did decrease by 24 more children, even from what we had decreased for the first budget, because we just don't know. So. I thought this was interesting because I remember I was here when we chose to go with that middle line. And what I think is so interesting is the report was done in 14-15, and we followed that middle line just like to a T within plus or minus 5 students all the way through 17-18 when the referendum was passed. And we've seen a decrease since that, which just really surprises me because I know that we chose that blue line because we were following it for 4 years in a row. And so that's why when we talk a lot about enrollment, and we've been watching this very carefully and watching this trend go down, and so especially this past year. So.
Any other questions, any other comments, Marcy, anything for us?
No, I will continue to monitor it, but I would actually like to, maybe this is something we need to update the study or look into, see what else is out there, because the data is getting old. I'd be curious to see, now that we have updated data, what that trend would look like.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
All right, thanks, Marcy.
Thank you.
Superintendent's report.
All right, we've just got a few things that I'd like to add tonight. One, again, is we're watching very carefully to see what the state recommendation is or mandate as far as school starting. We're supposed to get that information on the 27th of July. Just this morning, though, we got word that there is going to be a meeting with superintendents and directors of schools on this Thursday at 11:30. So I'm thinking that we're going to get, a little bit more guidance at that time, but we're watching it carefully, and we will be ready as needed. Also, I'm excited. First of all, I want to take a little bit of time tonight to thank Janet for this wonderful new format that we're using instead of board book. I have found tonight it's so much easier to use and to look at the information, and she has worked tirelessly since the time that you voted at the last board meeting to not use board book and to develop this model ourselves. She has developed the model and put 10 years worth of data into it. I strongly suggest, if you have a few extra minutes, to go onto the website though and look into the board agenda or the board information. For every single board meeting, you'll see the board, when you advertise the board meeting, the agenda, all the supporting documentation and the minutes to every single board meeting for the past 10 years. And
That's incredible.
it's an incredible piece of work, and so thank you
Thank you,
to
Janet.
her
Yeah.
for a job
Glad
there.
it worked.
It's working great.
I know,
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's been a learning experience, but
well,
we'll get through it.
it is so much easier. I don't know, I hope you guys are finding that too, but it's so much easier for me tonight to just click on the dot and get the information that I need. Also, I'm really excited this week. As you know, we've been talking about having some really important meetings, and now that the 4th of July is over and we're back in full swing, this Wednesday we're going to have just our first kind of organizational meeting of our equity team, and we're going to talk a little bit about planning on should the task force, how should that be made up. we're really excited. We've had lots of people volunteer to be representative on it, and so we're going to have some great conversation, and this is only the beginning of great work that our district is going to do. And as you know, we've done a lot of work on equity up to this point, but we're going to continue to do that as we promised in our past meetings that we've had, and so we're excited about that.
Elaine, just thank you for putting this together, and I don't know how large the committee is, and thank you to the volunteers. It was just 2 meetings ago that we said, let's do more work, so here we are already, and I expect that sometime over the course of the next couple months, we'll start getting some information, some readouts on that, so thank you for driving that.
You're very, very welcome, and I'm really excited just to start having that conversation and what the makeup of the task force should look like, and you know, it's fun even to see like with the handbooks already that Tim and his team have gone through and looked at it with an equity lens, and tonight we've been saying that word a lot, and so it's really exciting to see the work that's been done, and you can absolutely be promised that you're going to have updates as we move forward. And to me, the work that we're going to do, we're going to put that team together, that task force together, but this is work that's going to continue from this point on. And so it's going to be a work in progress, but regular updates will certainly be there. So, yeah. Any comments or questions that anybody has regarding that work? Okay, and Charles, I thank you for agreeing to serve and be a part of that, so thank you very much. Also on Wednesday at 11:30, we're going to have an update on some of that facility rental work that Corey had brought a couple of meetings ago in the performing arts staffing. We've had some time to meet again just as an administrative team and to talk about that. And so we want to bring some board members together again to have that further discussion so we can come forth for a second reading. We just haven't felt prepared to do a second reading until we have further discussion on that. So we're excited to have that meeting. And also on Thursday, I'm really excited because we're going to be having a safe and secure task force meeting just to talk about what does safety and security look like in our new elementary buildings. We're starting with this at this time. We know that the work that we're going to put together, so we're being consistent and having standards throughout, for this year will look very different a year from now when all 6 of the elementary school buildings and the Warrior Early Learning Center all open up. And so, because we're going to also be trying some different models to see what works best, but we want to make sure that we're at least consistent for this year in what we're doing to ensure the safety and security of our children, our staff, and the guests when they come to our buildings. The last thing that I have tonight is, as you know, there's only one. First of all, welcome to school year 2021. As I started my memo, and to think that this was after July 1st, this was our first meeting of the next school year, which is very exciting. But as you know, in July, we usually only have one board meeting. And at this time, I'm still recommending that. However, if something comes up with the school opening that we feel that we need some guidance in before the meeting in August, please be advised that we may call a special board meeting to have some of those conversations. I know that past practice is just to have one meeting in July, but this is a really strange year. And so if we need it, we'll let you know, and we'll give the 3-day notice and such, but to have a special board meeting in either late July or very early August if needed. So if the information comes the 27th and we need a little guidance on it, I'll let you know at that point. But that's all I have, but welcome to the next school year, to 2021.
Here we are.
Here we are. Hopefully it's a better year than the way we ended last year, right? So, yeah.
No, I wanted to comment, and I forgot after Sheila and Jim both presented, but being someone that was born and raised in this community, it's so fun and exciting. And I hear this time and time again where, you know, we've got 2 professionals that have dreamt about being able to work in this community. So we're really fortunate and blessed to have such a neat community here in central Minnesota that attracts all kinds of people, and it's just it's wonderful to hear those positive comments.
Great.
All right, any other business to come before the board? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Blackland, second by Director Nystrom. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Short one tonight.
Yeah.